Okay.
Happy New Year.
Hey y'all, Happy New Year. It's Renee and I again. And listen, we just really about to chat. We really about to chat, but we wanted to wish y'all a Happy New Year. Hey YouTube, hey Facebook. Facebook, we still hanging in there with y'all. I tell you, my algorithms are so low, but I promise you, if you like, share, and comment, we'll get back up there. It happens. It's social media. Y'all know how like the latest news be out and then all of a sudden, something else comes and all of that. But if y'all continue to like, share, follow, and watch the content, we'll stay at the top. So again, Happy New Year. We're in 2025. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh. And already, I've been going through my head, Renee, like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, and I had to slow down because I started feeling overwhelmed because I've already saw myself in like September and October. So I'm like, slow down, like enjoy January and not already see yourself in like October, November. And probably I see myself there is because I like time off and you ain't got to do nothing. And everything kind of quiet. Mm-hmm. And then when I thought about it, Renee, I'm like, you've been off. You've been on a break. So what are you talking about? So again, y'all, Happy New Year. There's so many things, oh my gosh, that I've been thinking about that we can discuss as we go into 2026. But remember, Chat It Up with Coach Q is about everyday-ish. It's an everyday conversation about it's a conversation about everyday-ish that we as adults go through. So if y'all have a topic, don't forget, like inbox us, email us, like put it in somewhere so we can kind of talk about it. And then also if you're local and you'd like to be a guest on Chat It Up with Coach Q, I would love to have you. Again, Renee and I are part of the team, so we're here just to have a conversation with you all. And we want to talk. So this is episode 23. And episode 23 is going to be on relationships, really how to navigate difficult conversations. And this is for several reasons. I'm dealing with some personal relationship conversations. And when I watch social media, I have a secret to tell y'all. Not a secret, but tell y'all something that no matter how much you try to disguise that ain't nothing going on, we can tell when something going on based on how you post on Facebook. And I know y'all be like, nah, not me. I'm just posting it. I'm just sharing it. Sometimes it is like that. You're posting because it was good. And it may not apply to you directly. But after a while, when you continue to do so, it may be something that you're hinting to subconsciously, right? So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, what I wanted to give an update on is a couple of things. First and foremost, as you know, last year we started Chat It Up with Coach Q mid-year and at the end of June. And so we were going weekly all the way up into the last 2 weeks of the year. And so what we're going to do now is have Chat It Up with Coach Q bi-weekly. So we'll air live bi-weekly every 2 weeks. And don't worry, we'll be here to remind you. I'll put a post up and say, hey, here's our next episode. Tune in, join in with us. And we're going to do this for a couple of reasons. Oh my gosh, starting off anything can be a lot and overwhelming. And so I want to make sure that I'm putting out good content. I want to make sure that I'm effectively thinking through everything. And again, we are a low, no budget podcast, right? And there's a couple of things that I really want to do. I don't know if it's staging, whatever, but we're just kind of navigating through some things. So in the meantime, y'all, we're going to continue to have some conversations and just chat. And again, that's for a couple of reasons. I like talking. I like just seeing what's going on these streets, what y'all got going on. And I like sharing information. For those who don't know, I always say I'm 5 classes into a PhD on executive leadership and coaching and counseling. So I like talking. I like having conversations. And I think it's important. And not think, but I know it's important, Renee. And so many times that's what gets us in trouble, or that's what gets us in a tizzy, is we're not having enough conversations. And so that's where I come in. Again, if you'd like to make donations towards Chat It Up with Coach Q, you can feel free to do so. And after the podcast, I'll make sure that I put it in the commentary or in the notes so that way you can be able to have conversation or sow a seed to us. Because y'all know I'm always giving, right? Hopefully most of you saw the live. I don't know if you saw it, Renee. I gave an update on the family that I helped at the hotel. Did you see it? I jumped on.
week?
Yeah, last week. So
yes,
Thursday,
yes,
I was supposed to go back and get my change. And the hotel attendant, please excuse me, I don't know who they're called, but he said that the guy tried to get the money, you know, the difference, when he already knew that the difference was mine. They did a good job. Shout out to Comfort Inn and Suites. They did not give the guy my change.
Right.
And so I gave it to him. I told him, keep it as a tip. So I let him get it.
Right.
And he was like, thank you so much. And I said, all right, then bye. He said, ain't bye. See you later.
All right.
And I thought that was pretty personable. So, y'all, it worked out. I did put the family up for 2 days. I don't know where they went after that, but at least they did stay. And the only thing they did was try to keep the change. So, no big deal on that. So, again, make sure you mark your calendars. We're here this week. We won't be here next week, but we'll be back on the 19th for another conversation. So, the topic today, again, is relationships. And they're so important because relationships are around us every day, right? We have relationships with our like nail tech, our barbers, our people who do our hair, people who I have a relationship, a very good one. And it's been about 20 years with a young lady who alters my clothes because, of course, y'all know I got big legs, small waist. So I'm always getting her to take something up. So I have a relationship with her. And how do we have those conversations? Or how do we, you know, we're real easy to compliment sometimes, you know, like we're like, hey, we tell people when we're happy or we don't say anything at all. But when it's something we don't like or doesn't go our way, Renee, sometimes we're kind of hesitant in sharing. My thought is, how do people get better if we don't give them feedback or if we don't have a conversation? Or how do people know how you made them feel or how they made you feel if you don't have a conversation? So I wrote some stuff down. I was like, how do we unpack all of this without being too overwhelming? And we may not get through all the topics today because it's real heavy. So I'm going to start off with something probably that we all can relate to. Most of us have services that are provided to us, whether it's our car dealerships, whatever, our doctor, our physicians, all of those individuals. And so we built relationships with them. Like my physician, my primary care, I call her Dr. T. And she'll call me late. She'd be on hospital rounds and she'll call me. And I'll call her. I'll be like, I'm so sorry, but I only wanted to talk to you. And she'd be like, okay. And one of the reasons I do primarily talk to her, not that people can't access your files, but a lot of times when I go to my doctor's office, at least locally, a lot of the people know me. Because of my huge social media presence being one. And then a lot of them always like, you're the lady who walk. I always see you walk. And so I don't be wanting them all in my business, even though they can look it up. But if they look it up, I guess there's a way to track all of that. So sometimes I just want to talk to, you know, my doctor about some private and personal things as opposed to putting it in my chart or calling it in my questions. And so through that, Renee, I had to build a relationship with her. And so she understands me. So she's like, when I see your name, I'm like, I got to get back with her. And that says a lot because she has a lot of patience. And so I really work hard on making sure that the relationship that she and I have established is one of respect and of open communication. And so I'm very open with complimenting her, and I'm very open with telling her when something doesn't kind of sit right with me or if I like further tests, because we got to advocate for ourselves, right? We do. And sometimes we think because it's our insurance paying and it ain't coming out of our pocket per se, that is cool. But no, it is coming out of our pocket. We pay for insurance costs. How is your relationship with your doctors?
I have a good relationship with some of my
Talking to that mic for pull it around to you for the YouTube people.
Yes, I have a good relationship with
better.
some of my doctors.
Okay.
But there have been some times when I've had to flat out change doctors.
Okay. Had you had conversations with them before you
yes.
changed? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I tried to work with them, but sometimes offices aren't managed appropriately.
Okay. Let's just call it out.
Yeah.
That's the truth, right?
And even going over I even went over their head, and ironically, the upper management said you may want to change offices.
Wow.
We've been working with them on customer service, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Okay. And you can appreciate that when people are open and honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ask, in moments where you have been dissatisfied, and I don't want to just say dissatisfied, but if you had feedback or you would like to share your concerns with your physician, how did you approach those conversations?
Well, oftentimes, depending on what occurred, I usually would ask to speak to the office manager.
Okay.
And share my concerns.
Okay.
And kind of go from there and see
Okay.
how receptive they were, because I know I've reached an impasse sometimes with,
Okay.
like, say, the medical assistant or something along those lines. And so we really do need an outside person or someone else to kind of intervene.
Yeah, to mediate kind of the
to mediate,
conversation.
yes,
Yeah,
the
okay.
situation. And there've been several cases where I've been met, and it's been very receptive.
Okay.
And even when the last incident I had, where they said, we've been having a lot of problems with that office. They don't really have a direct office manager. My recommendation is that you probably transition to another office.
Oh, okay. And sometimes that can be hard if you've been with a team for a while and they know you, and starting over can be rough.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I tried to work with them. But at the same time, that was already in the back of my mind that it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, because it's at an impasse. So again, to Renee's point, what she does is engage an office manager or a mediator or somebody else who can intervene. So that way they can probably kind of guide the conversation or make recommendations. And that may work. There's some instances, I know me preferably, when I've seen physicians, and I'll pause and I'll say, hey, can I share something with you? Mm-hmm. When you do this, it makes me feel this way.
Yes.
And so I'll tell them, when you come in and you jump right into questions or what my concern is, as opposed to pausing to give pleasantries, it makes me feel like you're rushing me.
Right.
And so what is important for me is to describe the behavior that they are doing and how it impacts me. So when you come in and do this, it makes me feel this way.
Absolutely. And to your point, I had an incident where I had to speak to the doctor, again, about a medical assistant. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I said was, I'm not really trying to throw anybody under the bus. I just think that this is an opportunity for more training. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I'm coming from.
I love it.
And I shared what occurred. And she says, that particular medical assistant is new. And so she is in training, and she appreciated my feedback.
Yeah. And see, that's it. So I like when you hit that point. I wrote it down, Renee, something that's very, very important that you'll hear me say throughout this conversation today. You have to aim for what's right and not who's right. So I don't care what the relationship is, whether it's professional or personal, you always have to enter the conversation. And there's a book called Confronting Without Offending. I'll get you the author. Her name is Deborah something. But it's called Confronting Without Offending. And normally when we hear the word confront, we think confrontational. But confront is to have a direct conversation with someone as it relates to a concern. And so we have to make sure that whatever our goal is in a conversation is that we're aiming for what's right. What's right, not who's right. So I'm not trying to be right.
Right.
And I'm not trying to make you wrong. I just want to understand what is right. How do we meet? How do we meet at this intersection? So that's it when it's with the doctor. A lot of people don't know where I go and get my nails done, but some people do, and some people go there. And as the weeks have progressed, in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I'll call her Susan. I love the way Susan does. I love her as an individual. She's personable. She's nice, and she has a conversation. However, at least probably a half a dozen or more times, I make an appointment, and more often than not, my services are delayed by 30 and 45 minutes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And while I can understand that things happen, because all it takes is one person being late and it pushes you behind. However, if you know that this individual can't be on time and it's going to impact it's going to back up the rest of your day. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you have to put that individual at the end of the line. And I know that there's exceptions to the rule, but for me personally, at least over a handful of times. And then when I do get in a chair, now I feel like I'm rushed. Mm-hmm. Because now you're rushing. And when I tell you things, you're rushing. And if I don't get the highest service, say if I said I'm not going to get gel on my toes because it's winter. You're wearing your feet covered. I don't care if my nail chips. It chip a little bit, then I don't feel like you're giving me the full service if I'm not getting the mid to top of the line kind of pedicure. You're not. And honestly, I had to tell you that they don't even put like soap or some type of
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until
yeah,
you said
because
that.
you always get the bigger
Yeah.
packages where they put something in the water, but if you say I want a basic pedicure,
They
baby,
don't
ain't
put
nothing getting in that
anything
water.
there. Oh, yeah.
Ain't nothing
Yeah.
in that water. And y'all know, listen, I know y'all got them pretty feet. Hey, pretty feet. Baby, but I need some like soap, some moisturizer,
Yes.
something to soften. So I've been thinking in my head, how do I have this conversation with her without offending her, and then understanding the language or the communication or our different, obviously I speak English and I want to make sure that she understands, because sometimes they may not. So she may understand English, but not the emotion coming behind it. And so I've been thinking about it. But then what I remember her saying is she communicates better in writing.
Oh, really?
So she reads and interprets better than she does hearing
Verbal.
it.
Yeah,
Verbal.
okay,
So
okay.
if I put it in writing, she takes it and puts it in her translation. And then she can understand.
Then she
so
can
I was
understand
like,
it better.
In her case, I need to put it in writing.
Okay.
Well, on the other hand, if it was, I don't know, maybe the young lady who does my locks, I wouldn't send her a text.
Right.
Because she would need to see my body language, hear my emotion. Because a text, she could read it the wrong way if I gave her the same sort of feedback. Not that I have any feedback for you. Shout out to you, Courtney. You're the bomb.com at Bombshell. Is that what it's called? Yeah. No, Bombshell is the Victoria's Secret perfume. It's called Bombshell. Yeah.
It's called Bombshell?
Yeah, right up on Warwick. So anyway, y'all, we started off really with the professional sense to say relationships across the board are important, and how we navigate those relationships are important, because we refer family and friends to our professional contacts and stuff like that. And your brand is important. And so again, on the flip side, before we move to like maybe personal conversations, I had, which the business will remain nameless, I had an interaction with a business, and I had a very good, when I say a very good relationship with this business, I referred countless people there. One, they knew me. They promoted my business when my husband transitioned to heaven. They gave me a nice, I'll call it love offering. They knew my kids, my mom, everybody.
Right.
Like went there. And so again, we had this personal relationship, but one day something occurred. I think my nails were done and something happened. So I needed her to redo them. Y'all, this was a Friday when she did them. And by that Monday, I went back and they wanted to charge me all over again. And I was like,
Yeah.
won't roll like that. And mind you, they've gotten a lot of my money in referrals. Fast forward, when the lady wanted to charge me at the end was different from the lady who did my nails. And I was like, nah, call such and such. Call such and such. Where's she at? And as she's coming down, I call her name. I was like, come here. Tell her about what we did. And they still charged me the regular price. So I was heated, hot, mad. Hot, mad. Got my stuff. I was like, I don't like this. Because this isn't right. As committed as I was, blah, blah, blah. As we fast forward, you all, everybody who came in, who knew me from that point, they wanted to tell them about the story. And this is going to hit on another topic that's going to be important. They wanted to tell the story that happened. I wasn't even there. Like, this is a business. So if somebody came in, matter of fact, Renee was one of the patrons. But as people came in, my family, they wanted to tell everybody about the story. And they wanted to tell everybody about what the experience was. Now, as many people know, by nature, I am loud. However, in professional settings and environments, I'm totally opposite. Because I don't like giving anybody nothing to write home about. Like, I'm very, very conscious of my interaction because of onlookers. So I have a tendency to lower my voice, lean in to make sure you understand. I'll casually smile. Because again, those things are important because of my impact and my following and my influence is very important to me to make sure when people look and they repeat the story, they can say, well, that lady was polite, kind, all of that stuff. But what they did was share some things about that interaction that wasn't true. So say if they's like, oh my gosh, she was loud. People are apt to say, yeah, I probably believe that because Quetta is naturally loud. Even though I wasn't, they would be probably opt to believe it because of my posture. But what they said is I was swearing, meaning using profanity. And see, that's what happens when we begin to repeat stories. We take the truth and then we add on to kind of embellish to make our story more believable. But not just anybody who know me, but the average person know I don't use profanity at all. I always say outside the bedroom. But I don't use profanity profanity at all. And so when this person said that, that's all bets off. That means that now it makes me question anything you said about Quetta. Like, I know Quetta and I know what she would do, but I'm here just getting my nails done. So really, I don't care. Whatever happened, happened. But at the fact that they came against my character,
absolutely,
it changed the game.
Yep.
The reason I want to pause there, Renee, is because I want to use that as a springboard as we start talking about how to navigate difficult conversations. And so when you thought about that experience that you had, okay, you heard it. They told the story. They walked up. You heard it. You're like, okay, they said everything. You know, whatever, ain't your business.
Right.
At what point did it change from, okay, I'm just going to come here, get my nails done, I don't really want to hear it, to, you know what, now you're being dishonest, or you are being dishonest about someone's character or their integrity or whatever? How did that impact you? Or tell us about that.
Well, in that particular instance, they wanted to describe what occurred that day, and they described it by saying that you were running through the shop cussing and swearing. And so, you know, at that point, my affect kind of was like, you playing in my face right now.
Right.
And so I got my nails done, and I never went back because, I knew they were lying. I mean, and it's kind of like, and when I went in and they asked me the question, oh, do you know what happened? It doesn't, like, why are we talking about
right.
that? That's over. But you want to bring it back up.
Right.
I don't think that's good business practice. That just was not good business.
Right.
Move on. I can't even remember what the time frame was. I mean, clearly it had to be in between that time that I was getting my nails done.
Mm-hmm.
But, that initially disturbed me. And then, for them to say, oh, yes, and she was running through here, cussing and swearing, I was like, okay, I won't be that. Because I'm not going to argue with you about
right.
it. That just tells me a lot about your character.
Right.
And, two, how you do business. So I never went back.
Yeah. And the reason this is important, think about it. Renee knew about the situation. However, the situation didn't impact her directly. That had nothing to do with her. So she continued to patronize them and give her business.
One more time, I think.
Like, you said, like, why? Because that was my experience. Yeah, you knew because we walk, we're friends. However, that was my experience. It wasn't like they were calling me, out of my name and anything like that. So you didn't have a business reason not to go back. That was just my experience with them. But it was at the point that they were dishonest.
Oh, yeah.
That it changed the whole thing. Character assassination. And the reason I want to stop there, y'all, I get emotional thinking about it, because let's pull this in now to personal relationships. And if y'all are listening, if you're able, I know on YouTube, you can put in comments. I have a moderator, or Renee is working both. Just a thumbs up, or that's me, or something to say, if you have had an experience where you've had a disagreement with someone that you care about. Have you ever been involved in a disagreement with someone that you care about that may have had mutual friends? And I'm talking about more on a friendship. So I'm not talking about like your husband, your wife, your children, because we know that stuff happens. But have you ever had a friend that you had a disagreement with, or even an associate that you had a disagreement with, and that associate wasn't just your friend, but they were also friends. Y'all had a group. Y'all had a group of y'all. All y'all kind of rocked with each other. And if that has ever happened to you, where you had a disagreement with someone within your, I'll say, squad or tribe or fellowship, whatever that interaction you want to have, and if you have, all I want you to do right now is just give a thumbs up. Like, yep, that's happened to me, because I want to make sure that we are kind of targeting the conversation. The reason I say that is all of us humanly have had a disagreement with somebody that we have relationship with, as a friend or an associate. But it's how we handle those disagreements that's going to be important. And most of us, I'll use the tribe, for example. I'll use my team. It's a bunch of us from females. So y'all know emotions and hormones are everywhere. There are, as the coach, there are things, I know my team, and there are things that people can tell me about one of them that I know isn't true or I know is true. And if it's true, I'll agree. And if it isn't, I'm going to check you, right? But one thing I'll do is always challenge people. Have you had the conversation with the individual? Mm-hmm. So when people want to come and say, hey, coach, this happened, that happened, that happened. And Renee talked about a mediator earlier. And all instances may not require that. So if they come and say, hey, coach, I had this experience with Renee, and they go into telling me the story, I'll stop them and say, have you had an opportunity to talk to Renee? The reason I say is because I can't fix it. You had the interaction with Renee. Have you given her an opportunity? Does she know that there's been an offense? Does she know that there's been a concern? And if you have not given a person an opportunity to hear, right, like I used to the doctor, that there's a concern, then we're already handling that disagreement the wrong way. So we have to make sure anytime there is a crossroad or a conflict that we are pausing to give the person who's caused the offense or who's caused the situation an opportunity to be made aware of it. So, Renee, while we won't go into like detail, but Renee and I are close friends. I call her my heart friend. She's in my top, right? But Renee and I haven't always seen eye to eye. We don't always agree. We go. However, we have enough respect for one another not to be, what's the word I want to look for?
Backbiting,
belittling. Like, I'm not gonna, like, if I have a concern with Renee, I'm not going at her even face to face. We're gonna talk about it, and we may fence for a while. Yeah. And the thing is, we may not come to an agreement. However, we will agree to disagree. And when people say we agree to disagree, whatever that is, I've never understood it. But what we'll do is, I will give her an opportunity to be heard. And I want to have an opportunity to be heard. So how do you have an opportunity to be heard and to hear? That means you have to listen.
Listen more, talk less.
Listen more, talk less, and listen to understand, and not listen to respond. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to say what I need to say, but I always tell Renee or whomever, or when I was talking to Renee, I have to listen to what her concerns are. What are your concerns? And sometimes there's certain people that can be intimidating, like we don't even want to talk to because it was like they're going to be at us. I don't care how strong the personality is. We have to learn to pause and allow that other person to express how they feel. Whether we agree or not, we cannot change what their experience was. Right. So I need to listen to what Renee's concern was. Oh my gosh, Renee, that was not my intent. Mm-hmm. People don't measure your intent, y'all. No. They measure your actions. So a lot of us don't intend to offend, but we can. Yep. Oh my gosh, Renee, I didn't mean to offend you. And just because you didn't mean to offend doesn't mean you change what you say. I want to be honest. Like, there's some things that I really do mean, and I need to tell you. Mm-hmm. And it may be offending. And the only thing I can do is apologize for that. But there's some truth as friends or in a relationship that she ain't gonna like. It ain't supposed to feel good all the time. Oh my gosh, like my head is overflowing. I did look in all my communication books because y'all know, like, my degree in executive leadership and coaching, all of it talks about like harmony in relationships and all that other stuff. So I have so much going through my head. I need y'all to know that in difficult conversations, everything that is heard ain't gonna feel good.
No, absolutely not.
It ain't gonna feel good to hear. If I say, when you do this, it makes me feel this way, or when you do this, it makes me feel like I'm being bullied. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel that I don't have a voice. It makes me feel that it's always your way or no way. Those are not things that you would want to hear. However, you have to hear it so you can understand what that person is experiencing. Pause and like, I apologize when I tell you such and such, such and such, and such and such directly, that it comes off that I'm a bully. And so what that has given me, Renee, is I need to adjust maybe my delivery, but it doesn't mean that I adjust the message. Like, I want you to know this, but I may adjust the delivery of the message. Because like when Cage was alive, I would tell him stuff, Renee, and he'll say, don't Capital One me. Because I would say, what I hear you saying is, or let me understand, let me work to understand, let me recap. And he'll say, don't Capital One me. Because that's what I would do in our arguments. He would, and I would say, he was like, so I feel like you are right now trying to, use your professionalism to kind of intimidate me. And I said, well, that's not my intent. I just want to make sure I understand. He said, well, that's how I feel. And so I had to adjust it. So tell me what you're saying. Or tell me, And so I own the delivery of my message to ensure that it lands, because I want you to understand more of what I'm saying. And I don't want that to be boggled down, Renee, in how I'm saying it.
Right. And whereas the person feels offended by it.
Now they're offended because they're so busy. You're yeah. They don't even hear the fact that you're saying something that you're like, you know what, you're right. And there's times when people say, well, when you did this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're right. That was the way I came at it. It was not right.
That was a little rough. Yeah.
It was rough. And I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rough. I was so upset. Boop, boop, boop. Bring it back. There are times when you do want to have a conversation, but not when you're upset. The average person, when we're upset, we say some things that we may not mean and that we may not intend in that moment. And so I always, there's something I wrote down. If somebody does something and is rocking me the wrong way, I've sometimes said, like even to previous managers. So if any of you are listening from Capital One, you may have heard this. I said, I'm working hard on how I manage my anger and disappointment. So sometimes I need a moment to kind of navigate my emotions before I have a conversation with you. And that's the real nice professional way. Because if not, that's one of the reasons I probably don't cuss. The moments I be like, ooh, like I want to cuss is in those emotional moments. So I need to step away. So we got to allow people the moment. Just because you're ready to have a conversation doesn't mean the other person is ready. Absolutely. And sometimes we think that that's the case. Just because you want to talk, then everybody got to talk. No, when you're ready to have a conversation with someone about something that offended you or about something that just didn't sit right with you, you got to make sure that both parties are ready to talk.
Right. They're understanding what it is that you want to talk about and they're ready to talk about it.
Yeah, because if not, Renee, you've had time to rehearse.
Yeah.
You got your note cards. Yeah. And you tell me, hey, I want to talk to you, Quetta.
Yeah, and you have your notes.
And you got your notes. And I'm like, I'm blindsided. And so now I don't know. I don't know how to move and how to respond because you are check. Yes. And so now my responses to you, I'm not even really now listening to what you want to say. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to respond to you.
Right.
And so my recommendation is when you're preparing for a conversation, you all, you have to make sure that you give the person that you're having the conversation with an opportunity to equally be prepared and be equally ready to engage. Sometimes they say that they're ready and they're not. Right. Or give them a heads up. Hey, I'd like to chat with you. Excuse me. That's kind of a blanket statement. Hey, Renee, when you get a second, I want to chat with you. Can we talk?
And see, I don't know what you want to talk about.
But you may know that there's been some awkwardness. So when you say, hey, let's chat.
Right.
In my head, I don't know if you're going far left or far right.
Well, that's the thing. At that point, then you may be making an assumption about what it is that you want to address.
Right.
So I might already get on the defense because I'm thinking that you want to talk about this, this issue, but that may not be what it is that you want to talk about at that point in time.
Right. And so now I'm already prepared for you. I'm prepared to be able to get.
I got it. Okay. What you got to say?
What you got to say?
Yes.
And in those cases, then Renee and y'all, I'm just looking down. I want to make sure I don't miss any of my notes. In those cases, you may have come all puff and ready, chest up, and that person was like, "Hey, I've been trying to think about leaving my job, and I know you left your job." And so in the back of your head, you're like, oh, I thought you wanted to talk about this because you offended me and I'm ready for it. And that person may not even know they offended you. So again, when you're ready to have a conversation with somebody where there may have been an offense or there's something going on. Hey, Renee, I'd like to have a conversation about our interaction last week. Right. What interaction? The interaction that occurred when I said this and you responded this way.
Right.
When will be a good time to talk? Give that person a heads up. And they can say one or two things, well, I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to, I understand you don't. However, because relationships are important to me, I think it's important that we have a conversation.
Exactly. And you're important to me.
And you're important. And see, the reason I didn't say where you are, but there's some people that you may have a conversation with that's not important to you. And some people say, well, if they ain't important, I ain't having a conversation. If relationships are important,
yeah,
I don't care where they fall in that relationship spectrum, you should manage it. Now, I know some of y'all ain't ready for that. Even when I had that class and they were talking about that, they were like, all relationships should be managed. So even if there's a conflict with the doctor or conflict with the lady on the other side of the counter, relationships are relationships.
Right.
And so you will want people to look at you as one who's able to handle a conversation or relationships with maturity. And again, that person may not be top on your importance scale. However, it is your character and your integrity that's attached to how they see you. And some people, well, if I don't like them, I don't care how they see me. You would, because it's that same person who's going to go and talk, right? Which we're going to talk about that too. So again, don't forget, don't have a conversation when your emotions are right here.
Running high.
Because y'all already know, husband, wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, we cussing, fussing, don't touch me, don't do this. And then we make up in a few days, right? But those are people that we're invested with in our home. So try not to have have a conversations when your emotion is high. Number 2, make sure that you give the person that has committed the offense or that has a concern, make sure you give them an opportunity to be privy to the conversation before you go telling 5 and 10 people. We've all done it. We've all gone and told 1, 2, 3, some of y'all, a whole clan, before we had the conversation with the person who did it. The person who was involved, they may not even know.
They may not even know.
So
they're going to be blindsided.
And they're going to be blindsided because now they're going to hear it. I don't care. Listen.
Yeah.
I only know a little handful right here that I can hold in my hand. Of people who I know for a fact won't repeat it to anybody else. Y'all, it's very few of them. Okay? There's some people I know they're going to repeat it or they're going to go try to fish for information so they can, I know it. And I won't name the people because I don't want my folk to get mad that they not in this group. But I mean, no offense. There's only a small handful of people that I can trust that I know for a fact that won't repeat it. You won't know that they know. And when I say a handful out of all the people I know, okay? So, again, give the person an opportunity to know about it first. Right. And I know we may mention to our spouse or may mention to that very close friend, but you better make sure that close friend don't have another close friend that they gonna tell who happens to know you. That's it, right? And then you want to make sure that when you do decide to have the conversation that you let them know what it's gonna be about. Just give them a heads up. I'm feeling some kind of way after our last encounter. Right. Okay? Let them know whatever that is. Hey, let's talk now. Nope, I like to talk face to face. When it is a rough, very offending, very emotional conversation that needs to be had, don't have it over the phone and definitely don't have it over text. Have it face to face so people can see your body language. Right. They can see your sincerity. And don't you feel like, Renee, body language and all that stuff is important when you're having that type of conversation?
Body language is very important.
Right.
Yes, because body language tells a lot as
well. It does.
Yes.
It does. And sometimes when I'm talking to people, they'll fold like this. They don't really want to hear what I say, but I'm going to say it. And then sometimes I'll pause and say, you're not ready to hear me. Mm-hmm. The next thing I want to say, don't feel like you got to get it all out in one conversation. You got to respect the fact when somebody is emotional. When you see somebody getting very, very emotional, it is not good to then just pile it all on them. That was number 1. I got 4 more issues.
Right, exactly.
You may need to stop because your goal isn't to overwhelm them. Exactly. Your goal is to come to a crossroad, to come to impasse is what I'm looking for. So that way you can see what is the root cause. And sometimes there's just people you just don't mesh with. I don't care how hard you work. It's just it's something about, and you got to know that, right? So make sure that you do that as well. Give them an opportunity to prepare for it, and then enter the conversation with what's right and not who's right. So
that's important.
It's important because if I'm trying to be right, I'm not going to hear you, and everything you say, I'm going to come against.
Right.
I'm already come against. And last but not least, y'all, this is something that I absolutely do not do. I think I just told my mom about a situation that occurred that I didn't tell her about it before, but I told her about it this time. And I didn't tell her about it like, Mom, guess what happened? Guess what this person did to me? I said, Mom, I want to share something with you. And what are your thoughts? And so I didn't enter that conversation looking for my mom to choose my side or to go with me because I was her daughter, because there's already some biases. Mm-hmm. I did that because I'm like, Mom, what would you do?
Right.
How would you handle this? Mm-hmm. Right? And she was able to share what she would do. And so if that's not your mom, because some of our parents have transitioned to heaven, whatever the case may be, if you're going to go tell somebody, go tell them with an objective posture to seek recommendations as to how you should approach it. Because, hey, I got to go talk to Quetta. And you know Quetta be on it. Check, check, check. And how do I talk to her that she hears me and I'm not intimidated by her? And, you know, they may come to Renee like, Renee, how do you handle it? You close to her. What would you do? And they're not coming to you to say, yeah, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. There's a difference between telling your story to your friend, your girl, your group, or whoever you're trying to get on your side, and getting with someone to help you navigate.
And there's also, too, telling your story and telling the whole story.
The whole story.
The whole story.
Talking to Mike, Renee. Talking. You need to lift this up.
Because you have my version, your version, and what actually really occurred.
Right.
And
y'all, I'm gonna help Renee just a little bit because if I can't hear you in my headset, you too.
Oh, you can't hear me?
There
okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yep, there it is. That's better.
Yeah. So, and that's perfect. Very important. Oftentimes, you know, when we tell a story, even, you know, like for example, when you're talking to your mom, sometimes when we tell a story, even to our mother, we may only tell our version.
Yeah.
And not tell even. And if we were a big contributor to it, we may not tell the part that we actually played.
Right.
So mom's going to be like, no, that was wrong.
Yeah.
Know, because she's going to come to her baby's defense.
Yeah.
And I think that your mom should be the person that you really want to tell the whole story to.
Yeah, tell the whole story. And so mom can tell you. And my boys know that. They be like, dang, Mom, you should be on my side. Nah, bro, you wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And I tell my sons very quick.
Yeah, me too.
I'll tell them real quick to say, I'm a woman first. Okay, and I'm a mother. And so I ain't just choosing your side because you're my son.
Just because you're my son.
Just because you're my son. And that's your child's mother or that's your girlfriend. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Right is
now,
right
I'll tell you when the chick acting up, though. I'll be like, I'll tell them they're wrong. And then I'll be like, oh, she did this as well. And so y'all have to know, most of the time in conflict, both parties could have done something different.
Absolutely.
And see, that's the part we want to walk away like, because it wasn't me, it was them. No, there may be a different way you could have handled it. Mm-hmm. You know, rightfully so. But let that come out through discussion.
Right.
Without just like one way. It's just one way. And I feel like this, Renee. I ain't even got my cards now. I feel like though, if we girls and we're the truth, doesn't mean I'm not gonna say something that's gonna offend you, but I should be able to tell you the truth. I should be able to tell you some things that maybe other people won't tell you or may be hard to hear. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something without being compromising, but if I'm telling you, like my sister Tara, I can tell her everything. And now that they started that phrase, listen and we don't judge, I told her some stuff and I know she was about to fall out the chair and that she was like, we listen, we don't judge. I was like, yay, for the listen and don't judge. Yay, Tara. I'm like, yay, Tara, thumbs up to you. But there's some things, if you don't have that friend that you can be brutally honest with and tell everything to, whether it's about them or whatever.
Without fear of losing the relationship.
Without fear of losing the relationship, then what do you want me to do? You want me to be dishonest with you and then you find out another one? No, and you may not like everything that I have to say, and I'm not saying I'm always right. But I got good friends that get on my nerve, but I love them.
Right.
I ain't trading them in for the world. I get on Renee's nerves all the time. Yep. Karen.
Yep.
I can call them out. She's talking about, yep. Karen, remember we worked at Sprint? I can get on your nerves. Mm-hmm. But because I'm her friend, because we have a relationship, because she loves the person. And again, not every relationship is to that degree. But if I'm social media and you, yeah, this is my girl, this is my people, this is my boo. And if that is enough, that we make that assumption or that advertisement or whatever we want to do, then have enough in your sack, in UT sack. Okay, male or female, have enough. Renee said, and your NUT sac to be real and come to me if there's a concern. And again, I'm not talking about just me personally in my situation. I'm saying there's a lot of stuff in this new year that I'm looking at people. I'm like, oh, I thought they were cool. I thought they were cool. I thought they were cool. Either we weren't really cool and it was just a facade, or you in your feelings and now you're responding to your emotions. Don't lose a great relationship based on your emotions and that in the moment pause. Because after we cool down, we realize, dang, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have involved that person.
Right.
And then once you fix it with that person, are you going to go back to the 10 people that you now defame somebody's character with?
Exactly.
And that's the piece that I want to kind of, oh gosh, I said, hey, y'all, I told y'all, I said, don't be all over the place. And all my little compartmentalizing feel like it's all over the place. When you begin to tell multiple people the same version or the same story, different versions, and then you and that person get it right, it is your responsibility to go fix it, but most people don't.
Most people don't. They're not going to go fix it because they would be telling on themselves.
They be telling them, don't go around. You used the word earlier, assassinating.
Character assassination.
Assassinating someone's character based on something you played a part in as well. It's just not right.
It's not right.
It's just not right. Hence why you left the business. You didn't leave the business because of my experience. You left the business because of their dishonesty through your personal experience. Right. You personally experienced their dishonesty.
Right.
And it just happened to be about the experience that I had. But you didn't leave them because of my experience. And so don't go around trying to get this whole crowd of individuals now to go against Renee because of your experience.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's not fair to Renee.
It's not fair.
It's just not fair. Now, people could say, yeah, I don't know, have people say, well, you know, Quetta, she gonna say what's straight out her mouth. If it's to be said, Quetta gonna say it. Like, I hear my friends say it like, oh, yeah, she said it. She be the one. Yep. Well, she ain't had to say it like that. Quetta can be a little rough sometimes when she pulls it out. However, how are you now assassinating that person's character? How are you saying it? What else are you saying? And this is the kicker. And I just want to see some blue thumbs and some stuff, some head bubbles on this YouTube. I can't see it, but y'all can say something. The thing that burns me up more than anything else.
What's that, Q?
It burns me up more than anything else when it comes to relationships is because now that there's a conflict, are you ready for it, Renee? You now go telling the business of the person that you had the relationship with.
You don't do that. You don't.
I don't care. Oh, girl,
I don't care
feel
what
like
they did to you. Whatever they shared with you.
What they did with you, what they shared with you during those intimate, private moments
That's right.
is nobody else's business. I don't care how angry you are. I keep pointing at y'all. My bad. You don't do that. You hold that.
Right.
But you're so busy. Now, all of a sudden, because y'all ain't cool, you so busy now trying to not just talk about the conflict now. Now you're trying to throw mud and telling their business.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yes.
And I'm saying that with sincere passion and love and conviction. How dare you? And so if that is you, stop it. You can have a disagreement with someone. You may not even kick it with them anymore. But the last thing you do is compromise the integrity or the privacy of your conversations that you had in those trusted moments when y'all were cool. Renee, that piece right there burns me up because if somebody comes to me, first of all, I don't really play no games with people coming and telling me, talking about somebody. Like, I have a matter of fact, I was just on a conversation with somebody when I was driving to DC and we were chuckling about something. It may have been true, this one piece. And then this person wanted to, and they may be listening, wanted to take the conversation a step further. I said, don't you do that. Don't you dare talk about my friend. Now, so for example, if they say like, oh my gosh, because Quetta's just loud, blah, 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 blah. And you can giggle. Yeah, she is loud. Yeah, and her son, blah, 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 between us. Uh-oh. Because now you mad. You know, like, it's one thing, again, to express a frustration, but it's a whole nother thing to go tell somebody's personal business about their family, their loved ones, whatever that is.
That's right.
That part is, and then, and for me, I always tell people, you don't need to tell my business. I tell my own. I'm an open book, period. But I don't need you to beat me.
It's your story to tell.
It's my story to tell.
That's right.
And then I'm not going to leave out any details.
Right.
You'll add your little twist and tell it your way. And by the time they hear the truth, that's not even what happened.
And putting your perspective on it.
And putting your perspective. So, again, if you don't walk away with anything else in this conversation today, no matter what the conflict is, you don't go tell somebody personal business that they shared with you when y'all had that. It's not okay. It's not okay. And then making sure that you don't loop in all these thousands of people into this disagreement.
Exactly.
And this person may indeed be full of themselves and everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it's okay to go now corral all of these individuals so that way they can start looking at this person some kind of way. It's not okay.
Right.
And then when you go on social media, you can see everybody who done jumped on a horse in the bandwagon. It's just not okay.
Right.
Right? It's not okay.
It's not. Stevie says,
hey, Stevie.
grown folk don't gossip or talk, like talkish,
That's it.
That's not what we don't
Hey,
we don't do
Stevie, grown folk don't. That's a good point. That's a good point. Like, we grown.
Right.
And I'm grown enough to tell you now, after I have a conversation with you, if y'all don't mess around no more, no, we don't kick it. But I shouldn't be hearing my conversation.
Yes.
I shouldn't hear that you had a problem with me from somebody else, and I haven't even heard it from you.
Exactly.
That piece there, Stevie.
You have not talked to me.
You have not talked to me. And so now by the time you talk to me, I done heard so many different versions of the concern you had with me.
Right.
When you talk with me, I don't even know how to take you. I'm on the defense. Mm-hmm. I'm on the defense now.
Exactly. And if you care anything about the relationship, you're not going to go around the mulberry bush. You're going to go directly to the person and have a conversation.
So what happens, Renee, when I don't agree with what you're telling me? Like, I'm telling you, hey, Renee, when you and I were walking the other day, this particular thing occurred, and you made me feel this way and blah, 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 blah. Just because I tell you this doesn't mean that you have to agree with anything or agree with my perspective of the conversation.
No, and that's true. But at the same time, if you're sharing with me that something made you feel a certain type of way,
yes,
I still have to take that under consideration.
Thank you.
But
what about by now, when you take it under consideration, you done heard this story now from 4 or 5 different people. So now by the time I tell you, how does that make you feel? My perspective. Now, how does my perspective? I'm telling you, hey, Renee, when we walked and you did this, this is how it made me feel. But you've already heard this story now from 5 different people prior to hearing it from me. How does my perspective now weigh? What weight does it have now with taking it into consideration? Now that I've told 5 different people.
Well, it's kind of like I should feel this big, right?
Right.
Like, because none of this would have occurred if I just talked directly to you.
Right.
Not to all these other people. What do all those other people have to do with what's going on between you and I?
Because then they can see my perspective, Renee.
But that's just your perspective.
Right. But I wanted them to know.
The crucial part. You've left out the critical part.
What part was that?
And that was the person that you have the concern or the issue with.
Yeah.
You've left that person out of the equation. This person doesn't even know. Because you failed to let them know. But you chose to talk about them, though. But they're not even aware.
So do you have the conversation after hearing it? Is it worth now? Excuse me. Is it still worth the conversation after you've heard all these versions? What do you do?
Well, to the person that's heard all the versions about it, but they haven't heard it directly from that individual, it's probably not. It's probably not, because how do you recover?
How do you recover?
And because the person has shown themselves to be deceitful, they've shown themselves to be messy, because that's messiness.
That's messy.
If I didn't come directly to you and I talk to everybody but you, you don't even know that I have this issue or this concern. You know nothing about it, but 10 other people do. But I failed to talk to you. And especially if it's a relationship I value.
Right.
Or at least I pretended like I did, or I valued that relationship. But if you value the relationship, you're not going to go dog it out to all these other people. Because now that, to me, I feel like we're living in jealousy and envy land.
Yeah.
And so, but if I value you, that's not the place that I should be at.
Right.
I shouldn't be there. Why am I there?
Right.
So I don't know how, I think that, I don't know if it's salvageable. I do believe that you can kind of come to a place, but probably whatever the relationship was prior to, it's probably not going to be that again, because how can you trust me?
Yeah.
How can you trust me?
Yeah.
I've not shown myself to be trustworthy or to be a good friend. If this is a friendship and I've talked to everybody about you but you, what is that? What does that say? That's just, we living in messy land. Who wants to be in messy land?
Nobody wants to be in messy land. So y'all, as we enter 2025, where we're here, God knows life is short. So many people already there. We're the 5th day into the month, and so many people have already transitioned. And when I tell y'all, when I say relationships are important, some are more important than others, I have to admit. But relationships are so important to me. And I connect myself. I give all of myself to individuals. And what hurts me the most is I'll be like, wow, why didn't they just come and talk to me? It doesn't mean I would have necessarily changed my view or whatever. I would have just been like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you felt that way. That wasn't my intent. I wanted you to hear this, but that wasn't my intent. And I'll have to take those things into consideration so I can weigh how I speak to you or what I need to tell you or to what degree, because there are some moments that are more sensitive than others. But nothing is more offending, like I said, than to hear someone has an offense against you and you had no idea.
And you don't even
and
know
you're hearing it
about
from random people. And then on top of that, you're hearing private information that has now been shared with these individuals. And now these people have made a judgment about you.
Exactly.
It's so unfair.
It's so unfair. Now we have, Connie says, it doesn't matter because you didn't start with me.
Right.
The person didn't start with you or whomever.
Right.
So we must not be that type of friends.
We must not have been.
And I agree. We must not be the type of, if you started with everyone else but me, then we must not be those type of, what worry, I guess, then. Were you just here along for the ride? What I could do for you? I don't know.
And some relationships are seasonal. Right. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and certain things, and there's been certain warning signs, and we continue to go into them. And I'm a person who's like, I'll give him a chance. And to your point, Miss Connie, personally, I'll defend somebody to the end. I'll be like, nope, give him a chance. Nope. Nope. I start making kind of excuses, for lack of a better word, for the individual until it hits me in my face, and then I'm hurt.
Right.
I'm hurt. I am a forgiving person. And one thing that my sister has taught me is to make sure once you know. Again, when a person shows you who they are, you have to believe them.
You have to believe them.
You have to believe them. So, go ahead.
Jay says, do not hold court about me, and I'm not there to defend myself.
I love that. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Now, my friend Sharika, hey, boo thing, one thing she told me, she says, you shouldn't have to defend yourself to a friend.
Connie, behave yourself.
Connie, funny.
Connie, behave yourself.
I know Connie probably like, but you should not have to defend yourself to a friend.
Yeah.
Now, oh my God, our time is running out. I have 0 seconds. It's me. We're going to take like 5 minutes. But listen, I shouldn't have to defend myself to a friend because you know me. I may have done something that rubbed you the wrong way, but I shouldn't have to defend my character. If like you and I, whatever our conflict is, at the end of the day, Quatta's heart, my intent, my character. And it doesn't mean that I still didn't offend you though. It doesn't change that moment,
right.
But it doesn't impact our relationship or who you know me to be. And that's why I want to tell you, don't allow one moment to impact everything. And if there's multiple moments, then you should have addressed them.
Address them. That's right.
Address
Don't hold
it.
on
And I'm
to
not
them.
saying like small things. The teacher says, Johnny got off his seat and spinned around in a circle. Don't call me with Johnny. Jordan, we're going 5 minutes over. He's waving, y'all. Y'all know it's 6 o'clock. He's been out his game. But little things. But if there is something you're seeing a behavioral pattern, then yes, like have a conversation. But we're friends. We ain't got to keep being rehearsed and always be on edge and all of that. But that just goes to show, like Miss Connie told me too, everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't your partner. But I'd be like, my friend, because I do, I don't just say associate, my friend. So you're my friend till you show me otherwise. And sometimes that stuff can be disappointing, but we have to compartmentalize these friendships. But more than anything, y'all, make sure that you, to my point as we were wrapping up, make sure that you value relationships, because the last thing you want to do is for that person, something to happen and you never have an opportunity to get it right, and that be on your conscience, right?
Because it will be on your conscience.
Because it will.
A conscience.
If you have one.
It will be on your conscience.
It will be on your conscience. And then always, y'all, again, like I mentioned to you, make sure you don't have the conversations and you're tip top with your emotions. You can't, you're about to blow a gasket. You may need to calm down. Okay. Secondly, make sure you have the conversation with the individual first before bringing in a whole clan of people or telling the story. And if you are going to engage someone else, engage them with the intent of, how do you recommend I approach it? Because you may know this individual better than me, or you may know this situation, or you can give an objective perspective. Make sure that when you go to that person, you let them know that you want to converse with them and what you want to converse with them about. So that way it's not blanketed, especially because if you talk to people, they have already heard about it, right? So make sure that they know. Make sure, number 4, that that person has time to prepare for the conversation as well. Don't just boom, blindside them. So even though you're telling them what you want to converse with them about, don't just blow up on them and then have that conversation over the phone or via chat. Make sure you have those conversations face to face. And then the last thing, which is not least, no matter what happens in that conversation, whether there's reconciliation or not, information that you've obtained or acquired when there was more of an aligned relationship, you just got to take that information with you. It is not your place to then go tell this person's story. It's not okay. It really, really isn't okay. It's never who's right. It's what's right.
Right.
Remember how you can phrase some things: when you do this, it makes me feel this way. Or tell the person, I'm really working on how I navigate relationships effectively, or I am working on how I respond without being offended. I am working on this. I need you to help me. Right? Listen to understand, not respond. Section off your concerns. Don't feel compelled to have to get it all out in one setting. A lot of big stuff, y'all. But relationships are important.
Relationships are important.
And if you got to work hard for it, and how we manage them. And how we manage them. And don't get me wrong. I'm not just saying if my girl, I know some of us, like, if my people don't mess with you, I don't mess with you. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Now, there's some people in your group that you be like, I don't care how much. You don't go over to Papa John's and I own KFC. I'm sorry. Okay? Like like my kids, I bet not see them at, not Papa John's. That's pizza. Pizza Hut. There's certain people, like, if I don't mess with you, you don't mess with you. But that doesn't mean you can't be cordial. So I'm not trying to, again, get a whole group of people down and out about you saying I don't like this person. But it may not, don't invite me. Don't invite me to a party that my sister can't go to. I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't invite me. So I may not be rude to you. I may wave. You may say something. I may laugh and it's funny. But don't invite me nowhere my sister can't come.
Right.
Because that's my sister, right? Right, wrong, and indifferent. Doesn't mean I agree with her and she was right. I'm just saying, if you don't mess with her, you'll mess with me. I'm using that as an example. That's not the case all the time. I have some friends that, honestly, if you don't mess with them, I may be cordial. I may wave to you, hey, how you doing? But don't expect me to kiki with you because Renee, my girl, she my peeps. I'm not saying pick up somebody else's saga, somebody else's story. I'm not saying do all that. What I am saying is that can become messy.
Right.
Because then that person could think that Dad, Renee over here with me. She must not go for a quarter like that. Or that stuff sometimes can just get too messy. And so in doing so, just respect the boundaries. And I ain't gonna invite nobody. I'm not gonna invite Sherelle if I know Renee can't come. I'm just not. I ain't gonna invite Renee if I know Sherelle can't come, because I know they tight. I may bang with Sherelle and not Renee, or bang with Renee and not Sherelle. But whatever, I'm not going to invite, because that's just messy. Oops.
Yeah.
That's just messy stuff, y'all. So again, when we're building relationships and managing relationships, just try not to be messy. And we ain't got to deal with people.
Yeah.
We ain't got to deal with people, but let people mess be their mess. And you kind of sit back. And if you don't do anything else, tell your friend when they wrong. Tell your friend when they need to adjust their behavior or adjust the way they're navigating things. And that's, again, one thing, because Renee is here, I'm using her as a reference. That's one thing I can appreciate about her. She'll be like, you know you're wrong. Or you know you could have done something differently. Or say again, come back again. And that's one thing I can respect about you.
She'll tell me too, and sometimes, I have to look on my face because I know she's right. I'm whatever. But I know she's right, and I think that's the beauty of friendship. And if you want an authentic friendship, then you shouldn't have to be on eggshells with that friendship. You should be able to say, not that we're sitting up here saying we're going to be holding court about you all the time. Well, I need you to tell you do this, you do this, you do that. That's not what I'm saying. But you cannot be afraid to talk to your friend.
You can't.
And if your friend is wrong, your friend is wrong. Or if your friend is right, you shout them out. They right. But but don't shoot them down. And
it doesn't mean it feel good when I be telling you, because I see your face, and likewise, I be like, But if ain't nobody telling you the truth, you'll continue in the same behavior. Y'all, we could probably go 30 more minutes about this. But if ain't nobody telling you the truth, you will continue in the same behavior. And it'll repeat itself. And then you'll end up a whole nother conversation playing the victim. Now you the victim when you the one. Anyway, hey, y'all.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Shout it up with Coach Q is about the everyday ish that we as adults go through. And all of us kind of go through this. And it's funny because I'll be in the car, which I'll be like earplugs in, because Jordan be like, what? So watch talking around your kids. Watch talking around your family, anybody that could draw a conclusion about somebody. And to Renee's point, that character assassination occurs. It's just not fair.
It's not fair.
And again, you don't always have to agree with them. But at the point that you have to assassinate someone's character when they're not there, or having court about them when they're not there to defend themselves, then it's unfair to them.
It's unfair.
It's unfair, y'all. So remember, we will not be back next week. We'll be back the week after for episode 24. We appreciate y'all so much. Y'all show us some love. Hopefully there's something we said today that either resonated with you. And if there's something that you need to do differently, go do it. If there's a conversation you need to have, go have it. Remember, it's not enough just for you to be heard, but it's important for you to hear as well, and listen to understand and not listen to respond. Any closing remarks for you, Renee?
No,
or
anything? Said it all.
I think we said it all. YouTube, we appreciate y'all. Like, share, follow, and subscribe. Facebook, like, share, and follow. Don't subscribe, because I told y'all I don't know where that $1.99 going, because I ain't seen it. So don't subscribe. And if you already paying your $1.99, hit up Facebook so they can get you a refund, because quite a can't. Okay, I just want to tell y'all that. All right, y'all. Y'all be safe out here, because of course, if y'all in the 757, we're expecting some inclement weather, and they done got these kids out of school 2 weeks in a day. I'm ready for them to go back to school. But anyway, we'll see y'all soon. If y'all can't do anything else, remember what I always tell you: be kind to one another. We never know what each other is going through. And as you're saying your prayers tonight, or you're entering your thoughts, please keep me and Jordan in your thoughts. Every time we come back from a vacation, it's always hard to come back home without Derek and knowing that Derek isn't here, aka Cage. And so, y'all, it's funny how I can laugh, kiki, and ha-ha and be happy, and in that same moment feel the emptiness in the pit and the bottom of my stomach. So again, rest in heaven, honey. It'll be 2 years, February 17th. Oh my gosh, already. Can time fly? Time flies. And I miss him like it was yesterday. That doesn't mean that I still won't flirt with your son.
Because she will.
Miss Connie. Not yours, Renee. They too young. But who else got some sons out there? I'll flirt with your sons. And some be trying to flirt with my nephews and my sons. Nah, I'm teasing y'all. And my uncles. I be always messing with Miss Connie. I ain't flirting with Miss Connie's son. That's my nephew. But y'all, make sure that you be kind to one another. And if you can't do anything else, inhale, exhale, and breathe easy, baby. It's just me and Renee on this set. So, y'all, we literally have to get up to cut off our social media stuff. So we appreciate y'all. Yay. Bye. Bye.